English. So that's something I think we owe as a big gratitude to our government to think ahead and, include that in the education system.
Well, that's interesting. Educational for me, certainly. So do you try to write for a global audience, born and raised in India, now you're in Turkey, you are a global person, or do you just try to write a good story and hope that it appeals to readers globally?
So I wanted to create a niche for myself. There are so many wonderful, creative people there. And I believe that every human being is a story, himself or herself. It's just another part, whether you get the courage to narrate that story or you don't. So everyone's a story. So you need to create a niche for yourself. And having been in the corporate world for so long, I did about 8 years in travel. And so I've watched travel shows which talk about cuisines, or I've watched, travel shows which take you to various locations and show you all the touristy spots. And I felt to myself that I love tourism, firstly, because I'm an avid traveler. I really love it. That's my personal preference. So why not be like a tourist writer? Take two countries and talk about the essence of the country, the essence of the land, which were the rulers that ruled these countries. How did they imbibe, the different flavors of their rulers into their cuisines, and so on and so forth, and build a story that even if a person never travels to India or never travels to Turkey, through my book, they can actually experience various cities, both from a spiritual angle, a poetic angle, as well as from the story point of view. So it's integrated with the story.
That's great. So your readers can travel to these locations. I love that.
Yes, I want them to. I want them to, through words, to travel to various places. That's the goal.
When I was researching your work, one of the things that really stuck out to me are your audio poems. They're really interesting, and they're a somewhat unique way to present your poetry. Talk about those, your audio poems.
So I always feel that the most difficult thing is poetry versus prose, because you can spend 2 chapters to explain something, but when you have to make it concise and bring in rhythm and give it some, dance and lyrics into it, it's got to be a poetry. And that was something that came very easy to me as a child. So, when people looked at me and said, "Oh, poetry, that's easy, and you must be kidding me." And I'm like, really, it just comes to my mind and I write it. And I felt that rather than people just having to, read it through a book or through my novel, because my novel has poetry and prose. In the middle of the chapters, the characters are communicating through a poem, or it's playing in their mind. I've just integrated poetry into my book because I love poetry so much. I wanted to read poems of mine and put them on my website, put them on different social platforms where people can, just click the switch button on, the play button on, and listen to the whole feeling, listen to the whole poem. I think that's a more beautiful way of, putting a poem out there in the universe.
Multimedia presentation. It really is fantastic. And again, going back to your website, it's really well done. I encourage viewers of this interview to go and check out your site. As I said, I'm going to post links to it. It's well designed. It's highly functional. You have a section on readers where you post pictures of readers with your books, and I think that's brilliant. So are you a website design professional? Explain how that website has evolved.
So I'm just a creative woman. I wake up with ideas and then I just don't leave them as ideas. I execute them. And then I go out and find people who are great at their jobs. And then we do these many so-called conference calls via Zoom, discuss the idea, develop the idea, and allow people to collaborate with their talent. And so this website is a product of the collaboration of talent of a lot of designers. And, also my manager who manages the website for me, and, she updates the content. And I feel if I'm successful, it is because people have read my book.